and subtle.
My RX 550.
Yeah, it's a Radeon.
Yeah, well, Radeon doesn't make good cards. Fuck off. But I mean, I use NVIDIA, but it's a Radeon 550, which is a low-end card from 2017.
Oh, is it that old? Oh my gosh.
And it's a low-end card when they made it.
That's funny.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
Well, the more you know, and the more our listeners know too. This is, of course, In Your Face. We have a great show tonight, and we got a lot to get through, both 40K and Age of Sigmar wise. But to get started on my phase in particular, I have a kind of messy workstation again, but it is filled with 10 wolves, technically 25 wolves, but 15 of them are old Chaos Hounds that are like cut and green stuffed to be less chaotic. And then I got 10 of the OG ones, which frankly, I might just get rid of the other ones and just continue to buy like another set of these like current dire wolves because they are a gorgeous model. But they do have little bits. I've already finished the fur on most of them except for the white wolves. And, I am surprised at how much little nooks and crannies, the gore and the holes are on each one. There's a ton of tiny little holes. And since I fully painted 40 zombies and then realized I'm almost never, ever going to use 40 zombies. So the meticulousness and the time and the care and the love that I put into 40 zombies that I will probably not see the tabletop for years is interesting. But these guys have a lot of detail, and it's going to take time, just like the zombies did. But that I have Belladama. I got Belladama's smaller wolf, and then I got Rydercar and his best friends too. And I'm going to try to paint them up, even though I leave tomorrow morning very early down to Southern California. So I will start this back up next Tuesday, or pardon me, next Monday. I will start this back up again. So I just want to get these wolves squared away because I got to get some other shit done in terms of the Vangorian Lord #1 and the Vangorian Lord #2 that I'm still currently working on. Boop, 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 boop. But I after this weekend in Boise Cup, basically everyone kind of convinced me that I am going to not have a guy ride the Vangorian Lord. It's just not realistic. It's actually very difficult, and it's not going to look good. So I'm going to have to master fur sculpting, and then I'm going to have a guy on the side, my Vangorian Lord that's got like the cool saber and he's put his hands out like that. He's going to be on Celeste's legs, that like Demon Prince Herald combo of Tzeentch, because that was already going to be my backup, because I went to Jeremy's house one day and I kind of compared Sigvald's size. His waist is a little too narrow for a thick boy like the Vangorian Lord's top half. And I know that Celeste's body is a perfect fit, but every conversion I've seen, people haven't wanted to, they've been too afraid to cut and even maybe cut and mold around where the true hip is. So they go around where this like cummerbund thing is. So then you have like an added longer midsection because you've cut at the convenient spot instead of doing the work. And it's made the conversions look very silly, but I know I can do it. So when I get back, I'm going to get Celeste. I'm going to cut it at the waist. I'm going to give that Herald to whoever the fuck wants a Slaanesh Herald. I know Jeremy doesn't. Or, you can have him. I know you won't give a shit.
That's true.
But the armor, I didn't even realize that Celeste's like Demon Prince dude on the bottom actually does have like armored legs, and the armored design kind of fits like the vampiric kind of aesthetic too. It's not like clearly chaotic. It's also not like clearly weirdly kinky Slaaneshi. So it was like, hey, cool. Like this is the conversion I'm going to do. He's going to be walking next to a big ass bat, and that'll be the fucking second Vangorian Lord. Anyways, that's like primarily what I got on my phase. I also kind of started to figure out a little gold tutorial. I know this is actually a horrible way to address that or show it, especially since it's not going right. But I finally figured out like a gold recipe that I like, and it's off of a conversion. It's off of a video. Someone who actually put contrast over it to get like a bright red, like a metallic red. But if I do it without putting the contrast on, it's the exact same gold I was looking for this whole time. So I'm very happy that today I discovered the exact gold I'm going to do, because I'm going to move away from brass, which is what a lot of my, like almost all my night hunt, they don't have gold, they have brass on their leaders. And then all my current Soul Blight have a lot of brass on them. And I want to move to like a cleaner, super bright gold, like something that you should expect out of like Lumineth, but like on a Death Army. So it'll be pretty fun. And getting ready to actually play with Soul Blight Gravelords, which will be refreshing and something different. And yeah, one other thing, I do want to give a bit of a shout out. I am trying the synthetic brushes, and so far, despite the fact that they don't really have a great point, they are actually going to be good for like layer, and they're going to be good for contrast and washes. Not great on detail work, but I actually haven't tried the detail one. So normally I can get away with the points on other brushes. You can get away with like having a detail work done on any brush, you know, normally, but these ones kind of seem to not really be meant for that. So that's all my thoughts. John, what about you? What's in your phase?
Hey, how's it going, Alex? I will say, I myself, I use a equally like natural fur and synthetic brushes, and brand new. I think they're equal. I do find myself that the synthetic brushes also don't last as long as I'd want them to. As far as what has been in my phase, well, a few things, I guess. As our listeners know, or anyone who's watching this video may suspect, I'm a fan of the Lady Death comics. That's about the only comic I actually follow. You see, I got pictures here in the background adorning my wall, and more pictures over yonder. And so I got my latest Lady Death Kickstarter in. There's the cover of the hardbound comic, at least. And so I've been enjoying that kind of stuff, support my new shirt and all that. So that's always a fun time when those come in. Something interesting happened, though. During the Kickstarter, there was a limited edition action figure, which I was not able to get. And I messaged the folks at Coffin Comics saying, hey, if there happens to be an extra one of these, I would be interested in getting one. And last week, I actually got a phone call. My phone rang and it said Coffin Comics on there. And a person called me from Coffin Comics, basically said, hey, we saw that you wanted one of these action figures. We got one extra. Are you interested in it? I said, yes. They sent me an invoice, and it's getting shipped to me right now. So I was pretty happy about that. And it was just kind of a cool little thing. Other than that, as you guys know, of course, I ran the Hammerhead Major GT this last weekend, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And that's kind of been the most of what's been in my phase this last week, obviously getting ready for that GT. Driving out to Sacramento, my wife and I drove out on Friday. Took us a little over 4 hours to drive from Morgan Hill to Sacramento. That's about 180, 175 miles. So it was quite the traffic jam for us to get out there. But nonetheless, I'm glad we drove out then rather than dealing with that on Saturday morning. And so rather than talk about the GT, I will say it was rather nice. Actually, the Hammerhead Game Store and Game Castle Sacramento are only about 5 minutes apart, maybe 3 miles, 4 miles at the most. So that was, I didn't realize they were both in the same area of Sacramento. Pretty, not the nicest area, but not the worst area. It's funny. My wife's like, oh, it seems a little scary around here. And I go, it looks no different than going to San Jose to me. So I don't know about that. But kind of something interesting. One of the things that Tony did for the GT was he didn't provide lunch, but he had lunch available. And so on Saturday, everyone had the chance to order some Chinese food from a local restaurant, which most people did. And when this thing came, I swear, all 4 of us hosts could have split one of these Chinese food trays. It's like one of those foam take-home containers, the big square ones, literally filled to the top, stuffed with noodles and rice and the General's chicken and all that stuff. So that was pretty amazing. I did not finish my Chinese food. And then Sunday, for the food offering, Tony was offering a large Domino's pizza, your own pizza, pepperoni pizza or cheese, right? I'm like, it's pretty sick. So I got in. Well, I shouldn't say I got in on that. As the TO, he just automatically ordered for my wife and I. And so I asked him, I said, hey, did you give the store a heads up that this is coming on Saturday? He's like, no, I'll just give him a call in the morning and it'll be a different manager tomorrow anyway. So no point calling him. So Tony, I guess on Sunday morning, hops, gets everyone's order. He hops on the Domino's app to order, 50 pizzas. And it turns out that there's a limit to how many pizzas you can order through the app. So he has to order 3 times. He has to make 3 orders to get all the pizzas in. And it basically starts like it's going to make them right then. So he immediately calls the store and says, hey, guys, I just put in these large orders. And obviously you pay ahead through the app so they know it's real. But hey, I want to pick these up at noon, not right now. And the guy on the other end of the phone says, no, your pizzas are already in the oven. They'll be ready in 7 minutes.
Oh my God.
And Tony's like, I just ordered those 1 second ago on the app. Oh, okay. You know what? I will be there in 7 minutes to pick up my pizzas. So Tony drives down to the store and gets there. And sure enough, they are making pizzas. And first couple pizzas have come out of the oven, and the rest of the first order is stacked and starting to be processed through. And so Tony's like, okay, well, hey, can I get some plates and napkins to go with these? And the guy at the store goes, no, you can't.
This is super stressful for me.
Yeah.
This entire story is stressing me
Guys,
out.
it gets worse. And so Tony's like, wait, what? Well, can I just get some boxes? Maybe I'll pay for them. The guy goes, no, you can't have anything. And Tony's like, okay, well, hey, I'll get my pizzas and then I'll come back.
Fuck off.
and for the next 2 orders. And the guy goes, yeah, no, you just take your pizzas that are done and that's it. We're going to refund the rest to you. We're not going to make them. And it's the employee. And Tony's like, wait, what? And Tony's like, no, that doesn't work. If you're going to give me a refund, I want all my money back because I guess I got to go somewhere else, or I want all my pizzas. I got 50 guys that I'm expecting to feed. And the guy's like, no. In fact, we'll finish cooking your pizzas then, and you need to wait outside the store. And Tony's like, wait, what? Right? I mean, this guy's like just giving him attitude. So Tony steps outside the store, but he's standing there holding the door open. And the guy's like, oh, you're letting all the cold air out. And Tony's like, I don't actually care. And so he's standing there. And I guess by the time the pizzas are ready, he's just waiting there, and he's been gone for more than an hour at this point. He turns to the guy and says, you know what? I'll tell you what, those first pizzas you made, those are pretty cold. I want those remade. Right now, obviously, Tony's having some attitude at the guy back at this point. And the guy's like, no, we're not remaking any pizzas. We'll just finish them. And Tony goes, well, I'm looking here at your Domino's policy. And if you remember, Domino's has the pizza policy that if you drop your pizza, you get attacked by Bigfoot, anything happens, they will remake or replace your pizza. And Tony says, well, I tell you what, you can either remake those pizzas or you can hand them to me now, and I'll have an accident all over your store floor, and you can spend the rest of the day cleaning up pizza sauce. Right? And so the guy's like tells me, he says, no, you know what? I'm calling the police. And Tony says, you know what? Please do call the police.
I'll call them for you.
Right? And so the guy calls the police. And he calls his manager. In the meantime, I guess the driver comes back, and Tony's like, says to the driver, like, what's this guy's problem? And the driver just like rolls his eyes and like puts his hands up like, dude, I have to work with this guy. Like, I don't know what his problem is. Right. So the police arrive, and the manager arrives. And so Tony, of course, talks with the police and the manager outside the store. And I won't go into details about that conversation because I can imagine you guys know how it went. Let me just say that when Tony told me that he was headed back with the pizzas, he included a selfie with him and the 3 police officers
Oh my
smiling and
God.
hugging as
Oh
they
my
all took a big
God.
selfie together. So, needless to say, the manager sent the employee home, apologized greatly to Tony, and delivered us the rest of our pizzas. So that, as what was in my phase this week, was, mind you, I'm hearing about the blow by blow of this at the store. So at one point, I'm like, okay, do we need me as the TO to go talk to the police to get the store owner out of jail?
Oh my God.
That's not what I was expecting as TO, but I'm in the mode right now. I can handle it.
You want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty here.
So with that, we obviously, the tournament went well the rest of the weekend and we drove home without issue. Mr. Garrett, what has been in your phase this week, my friend?
Nothing like that. Honestly, I don't want to follow that up.
Follow that up too. I want a whole episode dedicated to that.
We should bring Tony on and let him tell the story. I obviously told the super abbreviated version and skipped several points of interest.
We should do a TV version of it. We should do, or we should do a video cast version of it, and we should have people who look 30% like each person play it like a Lifetime movie reenactment.
Oh, we could reenact it. So like Tony is a big redheaded man, and maybe we get Shane Rucky instead to play Tony.
Yeah, someone who's just like, yeah. Like if someone was to, if an alien was to describe what that person looked like, yeah.
Perfect.
Totally.
So what's in your face, Garrett?
I'm sorry, Garrett.
Nothing compared to that. Absolutely nothing. Like I'm just building more of these buildings.
Oh, those are amazing.
Yeah, these are the Frontline Gaming cobblestone buildings. I desperately need to finish building. So I'll see if I can pick all this up. But I got these I need to build.
Is each one of those packs one building?
One, maybe 2 buildings. I got 4 of these I need to build.
What the hell is that?
I got these I need to build.
Jesus.
And then
Why do you have so much terrain, dude?
For our non-visual listeners, Garrett is picking up bricks after bricks of MDF boards.
Yeah, and then okay, let's see if we can.
So I understand you're going to be installing a shelving unit down in the basement.
Yeah, basically I got this to build.
Oh my
as
God,
I'm running.
dude, this is too much. When is it going to stop?
Whew. Yeah, I have
we
when I'm done. So yeah, I got my tournament coming next Saturday. I ran out of glue last week and I ordered new glue and I didn't get it until today because I decided not to take the 1.5-hour trip to drive to a game store and buy it. I just ordered it online and that was a mistake.
Wait, why would you have to go to a game store to buy super glue?
Because I did buy super glue, but it was Gorilla Glue and it didn't work on MDF. And I
Okay, but what about going to a Michael's or a Hobby
Home
Lobby?
Depot.
So no, for MDF, your best bet is
Wood glue.
tacky glue.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PVA glue.
Oh, but you can get PVA glue literally anywhere.
Yeah. So here's my MDA recommendation for you there, Garrett. The original tacky glue available at any craft or sewing store.
And potentially convenience store.
Well,
It's made of real cow hooves.
Yeah.
yeah, that would have been nice to know. Too late
Fully.
now.
Oh, for the future, yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that is once you've stuck everything together, you just wet your finger and run it along all the seams, and you get a real nice clean gusset on the inside of all the buildings, giving them real good strength.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to build all this for the tournament because I have 17 players registered, so we'll probably have about 9 tables.
Wow,
I
nice.
just received my mats in the mail today. I got 16 gaming mats.
Wait. So you have to build like 40 buildings or so, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. What kind of game mats are those?
They're the Frontline Gaming mats that are 44 by 60, the new size.
Yeah, it looks. I was weird how you picked it up. It wasn't like a roll. It was just folded.
Yeah, that's a lot smaller.
Yeah, it's only about this big. It's rolled up. Just rolled up.
You did you check they're actually the size? Because I'll tell you, I bought two from them, 244 by 60, and they're always like an inch short. Like
Well, yes, they're always going to be about an inch short.
Yeah, I mean that really annoys
Stacking
me.
of rubber and stuff, they tend to be a slightly.
It really annoys me because every time Alex comes to play, he measures it and he's always like, "God, it's an inch short."
You know what? I'm gonna forever say that until you fix it, until it's not an inch short anymore.
I can't fix it. it's the
I mean, that sounds
manufacturer.
like a you problem.
That's fair.
I say you
That is
draw
a
the
big
rectangle on your table and just center the map.
problem.
Oh
Well,
my god! Wow.
I'll wait for my face so I can, because I have a story about that.
Yeah, well, other than frantically building all this stuff, which I'm currently doing while we record because, I need to.
He's so ecstatic. He's so happy.
So happy. I played a wonderful game of D&D on Tuesday with John. It was we actually got to get some combat in, which was fun. They fought a cave giant, and I almost killed the party.
It's pretty awesome. I climbed up in a tree and I did a mighty bow shot. Shoom, shot him right in the jugular vein, blah, blood spraying. And then I whiffed after that. But it was that one shot was amazing.
It was the
Everything
opening
before this
volley.
one point. Oh, so good.
I'm so glad that John is in that campaign to tell the stories, so it's like a little bit more like high pitch and exciting. Because Garrett's like, "Yeah, I almost killed the party." Like, and like anything exciting?
Yeah, I threw a rock at someone. It was great.
Yeah. Hit James with a big rock. When I jumped in a tree, a giant like lizard basilisk creature tried to follow me up the tree and critically failed its climb roll, fell off the tree on its back. So I just pinned it to the ground at the bottom of my tree and followed it up with a bolt of cold energy and just slaughtered that damn lizard. It was awesome.
I just want to point out that Garrett is living his fantasy of crushing James with giants by because he can't do that on the table in AOS, but he can damn for sure do it in D&D.
I mean, Jeremy, imagine that Alex was the GM and you were the character. You might get the feeling that extra stuff was happening to you.
I could never be a GM.
Fair but balanced.
Fair but balanced. Yeah, no, actually, GMing takes an exceptional patience and creativity. Garrett is an amazing GM.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have zero patience.
I save all of my detailed descriptions for the table, and I let John recant them to the people after the fact.
There you go. Hell yeah. Did were there any moments where your character had to kind of go nuts and do a rousing speech in his bad accent or anything like that?
Not this time.
Yeah, this was pretty much combat. I mean, I did at the very end of the day. I've been having this potion of shared memories. It's been trinking around in my backpack since I created the character, and right as we were ending the session, I realized that the goblin informant that we were escorting, who had just led us into the trap in the cave, might not be telling the truth. And so we did use that potion. James actually extracted the memories of the goblin hideout from the goblin informant, and we ended the session right there. And Garrett has 2 weeks to come up with all sort of, how we say, misanthropy for us to get into as we approach the goblin cave.
Yep. I'm excited.
I am too. Should be fun.
So yeah,
Oh, yeah?
other than that, that's basically been my week. Cleaning up the basement a ton. And Jeremy commented on it last night, how my table seems a lot cleaner. All of the stuff on there is stuff that I'm giving to other people. Like, so James, a lot of stuff I have for James and other people coming over to my house.
Let's just totally like bypass the fact that there's a box there that shouldn't be there until Saturday.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I guess I didn't know Garrett is a major content creator on the side and just hasn't told us yet.
Well, those people have had it for weeks. What are you talking about?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
People
got
that
my
don't play AOS.
right.
Even
So-
people that don't play AOS, that's true.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
actually excited to crack open and start building the models out of the box. I think it'll be probably gonna wait till Saturday though, because I got to build all this terrain first. So really excited to have James, Ryan, and Horatio to come over to my house on Saturday, and we're gonna play a bunch of games, drink some beer, have fun.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
And then learn how to play 3.0.
That's
I
the
mean,
plan.
I can't wait for you to just like crush everybody with giants in 3.0. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Also, hopefully by that point, you also get the day one FAQ, unless the day one FAQ is actually on day 3.
Right. Yeah. I'm not hopeful. I've learned with GW, just keep your expectations real low, and then you're only mildly disappointed.
Yeah.
I saw a weird
for
thing.
example, I can
where-
say that my shipment from GW of my rule books has not shipped.
Fuck, that sucks.
Yeah.
I saw something very interesting where the FAQ for Beast of Chaos popped back up, but it didn't actually have a link, and it said last updated on 7.2. So there are some people who are talking about the FAQs, the day one FAQs actually coming in on day -1. But
You mean Friday.
yeah, tomorrow, yes.
That would be in line with the tightest rule set ever.
Watertight. There should be no room for interpretation.
Water.
I saved the clip.
All the facts literally say, just reread the rules again, you'll get it.
That'd be amazing.
So let's bust out that Soul Blight Gravelord's book. Let's look at that White King's command ability, shall we?
It's watertight on how it works. You
It is watertight at how it works. It
phase.
doesn't work.
It's useless, but
I mean, it works. It's just useless.
it's clear how useless it is.
It's very tight. It's very clear and very present that it just does not work. That's great. I like that attitude. Jeremy, what about
Anyways,
what's in your face?
That's basically my phase. Really excited for 3.0. Really excited to start playing around with some stuff with Alario and Soul Blight and some giants. So, Jeremy, what about you? What do you got going on this last phase?
Well, nothing really happened last weekend, and I love it. Like no one like flinched on that fucking terrible joke, so that's great. And then,
Hashtag expected.
yeah, hashtag expect. Just business as usual. And so no, I've been I did 2 things this week, which was important. One, I started painting. Well, I'm trying to finish painting my all squig Gloomspite kits list because it's Gloomspite kits and they're amazing. And I wish they were slightly better, but I still enjoy the shit out of that army. And also the models. I love fucking Boingrot's Founders and fucking Mangler Squids. I just think just one of my favorite aesthetics of AOS. The other thing I've been working on is I've been shifting the basement around because now that both game system use 44x60, I went through and cut all my plywood boards that I was using as like basically my underneath for my mats, which freed up a bunch of space. Like not you wouldn't think that's that much, but honestly, like now it feels like the table is like totally walkable around. Like it's not as bad. It's gonna be great when Alex is there, so he doesn't eat shit in the basement. Hasn't happened yet, but he has definitely tripped over like the wire or
Come on. I always will.
yeah. So it was it's nice now, and I managed to move the dice tray to the actual table instead of that weird side table, because that whatever that's placed, I was able to reclaim it from the dice box. So now we actually have a side table to put our armies, Alex, instead of like on these fucking chairs. So
There we go.
It's a lot more convenient.
No more need for all those benches.
Yeah, those chairs around them fucking to eating up all the space. And then the other thing, I've been like doing a lot of housework too, because like right now this week is like dead in my office. Just people took off a vacation for the 4th since it kind of ended on a weekend, so people just took days off. And so like there's just like nothing happening in my office, which is great. I will say though, I am super excited to play Sisters of Battle for this RTT. Me and Alex are going at the end of the month, end of July. It's 25th, right? The 25th weekend of the 25th, which is like going to be I'm going to come out of it completely red because it's outside on a deck. So as a very
Sunscreen.
very
Gotta learn how to properly put on sunscreen.
Learn is a strong word, and and I'm looking forward to like playing Sisters of Battle and losing like all 5 games because I don't know how to play like 8th or 9th edition at all, especially the changes.
Okay, that one
fun.
character is absolute horseshit. What are you talking about?
I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of horseshit mechanics, but it's I don't know. After we'll see. Like I still haven't bought the Adnet book, so I'm really curious to like really deep dive into like understanding this book that everybody keeps saying is fucking horseshit. I mean, it must be horseshit because at Boise Cup there was like what, a third of the field or like 40% of the field was like.
Oh, look at the memes, just the memes too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it must be like some insane like power creep that I've never like evaluated in my life of playing Games Workshop games. So I'm looking forward to like finding the copy, reading the rules, still not getting it, going to play at this RTT and getting my shit shoved in by Admech and Drakari for like, you know, a whole day. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Was it? It's only one day, right? It's only that Saturday.
This is a one-day event. Yeah.
Cool.
Just an RTT at somebody's house.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That way, 3 losses is not as painful as 5. 5 losses.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's not bad at all. Speaking of which, oh yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Go on.
Go on. I also have we might have a guest star on the show on the week in mid July. Or late July. His name is Mr. Tasty Taste. He'll be in Portland the week of the 11th to the 17th, I believe. So he might.
Wait, he's going to be here for a whole ass week?
Yeah, coming to Portland for a whole week, staying with me. So he might come to the show instead of me, and I can just be in the background.
Oh, that's great. he should wear a cap, and then he should put the headphones on, wear one of your shirts, and just pretend to be you.
Pretend to be me the entire time. Do a really bad French accent.
He would do a horrible French accent. It'd be wonderful.
Like the time he came over to play last time, he just pretended to be like in French the entire time we played the game. Super.
I failed 8 saves. C'est la vie.
Anyway.
While you were building your Primaris, and you were like, fuck you guys.
The entire time.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, that's cool. That's awesome. Maybe we could get him to do something. Maybe we can have other people partake. It'll be a good time. If he's going to be here for a whole last week, I'm very excited. We will talk about that after recording, I'm sure. But, you know, of course, after our phases, we like to talk a little bit about some of the clockwork, the mechanisms, and of course, sometimes those gears, they don't like to really work together as much as you would want them to. And sometimes it frustrates us. John, I think that you might have some things that might need greasing.
Yes, I do. And let me say
what kind of things?
Let me just say that I tried to hint to this earlier. This is less a grind my gears. This is the mesh my gears segment where the gears come together smoothly. And even though I was expecting pain and grinding, instead they engaged and the entire machine is running smoothly, and the disasters I expected did not happen. And what I'm referring to, the only thing I'm ever referring to, is the much maligned 40K app. And I will say that I have maybe talked a little shit about the 40K app since it has come out, justifiably so, I think. However, this last weekend, as I was running 2 GTs simultaneously, or a major GT, depending on your perspective, I had to use that app. I had to use it heavily. I had to use it for most of my rules questions. And I have actually gained a new appreciation for the 40K app. I will say that whenever I looked something up, the facts and other stuff was already in, and errata were already integrated into the app. I was able to do keyword searches that brought up not just the rule I was looking for, but all the related rules. So I was quickly able to say, look at the rules section, look at the special rules or rarely used rules, as well as the glossary section simultaneously. And I actually only went to the hard copy of the book twice throughout the entire weekend. So despite the fact that I've talked so much smack about this app, I will say that perhaps there is a niche use for the app when you're running an event and you're trying to answer questions for players, multi-layered, complex questions for players. So that's why I say it's not so much a grind my gears. It's almost an apology to previous grind my gears where I have maligned this app greatly. And I still am not a fan. I've not been converted. I'm not a fan of the app. I still like how the AOS app allows me to buy my battle tome, allows me to read the battle tome, see the graphics, the pictures, the fluff, and all these things. But from a purely, I need to look at how rules interact with each other, and I need to make a decision during the game, the 40K app has proven itself to be actually a superior format for that. So there it is. There it is. I may not say that again after we're using this in the next app. I may not say this after I've subscribed to all things Warhammer, but at this moment, the app's pretty good.
John, blink twice if Games Workshop's in the room with you, holding you hostage.
Yeah.
Holy.
Oh no. Oh man. Well, I really hope that I can share your sentiment when everything is, integrated all into the same thing. I myself have been very nervous and not nervous, but like annoyed and semi-concerned about the fact that we might have an identical app to 40K, but for iOS. I understand the usefulness though. It's one of those things where it's like, well, to someone without a car, scooter's pretty useful. I don't know, that's the way I see it, but I don't have as much experience with it as you do. So, hey.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. That was a perfect analogy. As I was saying over the weekend, it has a niche application.
Yeah. And, there was a niche application towards the event that you ran, 2 events or 2-ish events that you ran, because technically 2 were part of 1. And that was, of course, was the Hammerhead Major event. I really like how, weeks following this episode, we had been calling it the Hammerhead GT, and even in BCP, the logo for it, the Warhammer 40K GT by Hammerhead Games is what it originally looked like. And then they just kind of like slapped on the front of it like major instead, because hey, it became a major event. Looks really cool, and I'm very curious about it because of the fact that you had a very unique format. I mean, we've already gone through the pack in a previous episode, but it's weird because you don't show up once in BCP, you show up twice. Why is that? Got you.
So yeah, there was a pretty unique format. When the GT was first put out, Tony has a pretty big store, and he actually has a second gaming building associated with his store. It's in an office complex. So think of like an office building. There's like a main entry area that is actually the store. And then you go down a hallway of what would be various offices. And those offices are private game rooms. And then you can go across the courtyard, and then he owns a second office. And then again, there's a large like open meeting room or what have you, and then multiple smaller game rooms off of that. But his total capacity is only about 38 or so players. And so what happened was, as we mentioned before, the GT sold out, and then the waiting list was just as long as the number of people that had tickets. So Tony's store, as it turns out, is very close to Game Castle Santa Clara. Game Castle Santa Clara is actually a very large game store as well. Talking to the
Sacramento, you mean?
Oh, did I say Santa Clara?
You did.
Oh, I did. I meant to say Sacramento. My bad. It's all, whatever. Spanish names. So anyway, so Game Castle Sacramento, as I was talking to the manager, she feels that she could actually hold up to 100-person tournament in her store. So that kind of gives you an idea of the extended game space that's over there. And so I guess Tony, of course, knows the folks over there, certainly knows the folks at Game Castle, and they offered up to use their game space as well. So now we had the ability to have a major, but we're still in these two separate locations. So that's really what made this unique, is it wasn't like just pods all in the same game hole. We really had 38 players at one location and 38 players at another location. On day one, each location ran 3 rounds, Swiss pairing, as if they were the first day of a GT. And then for day 2, all of the players with a winning record. So it wasn't the top X number. It was everybody who had a winning record. So, 2-1, 2-0, or 2-0-1, stuff like that, right? 1-1-1 also got you up there, since a tie isn't a lose. So anybody with a winning record got moved into pod 1 over at Tony's store, and then everyone else stayed at the Game Castle. I bounced back and forth between the stores on day 1, but on day 2, since all the top players were at Tony's location, I stayed.
Okay. And then what, if you're at 2 locations, you had to have spread the organization a little bit. You had to have delegated to some degree.
Right. So at each location, we had an assistant TO, and then Tony or I was always at each location. So like when I went to go over to Game Castle, I basically drove over to Game Castle, tagged Tony, he headed back to his store, took care of some business. I went around Game Castle, answered rules, especially round 1. A lot of people didn't know their PIN numbers and stuff like that. So there was a lot of kind of administrative stuff to take care of. But it went pretty smooth, actually. It was amazing. And the neat thing about this is a format that I had been thinking about for a while. One of the issues down here in the South Bay, in the Bay Area, is space. I literally could not possibly afford a game hall large enough for a major GT. And Game Castle Mountain View, the former home of the Bay Area Open, that store is closed. So there are no large game spaces. But now that we've proven this concept, I could see running a GT or a major GT by having pods at multiple Game Castle stores in the Bay Area, like literally 4 stores with 16 players each to make up a major. So that's in your future, Garrett, by the way.
He's super excited. He's
So
ecstatic.
excited.
He's ecstatic.
Yeah. So it was a unique format as far as I know. I don't think anybody has tried to do a GT like this up until now. But as a proof of concept, I think it's something that works in a lot of areas. I think there's a lot of places around the country, around the world, that don't have these large game halls or large game spaces, but could maybe, team up multiple stores. And as Tony put it, it's not us against them. The rising tide raises all ships. So all stores are partners, not competitors.
Yeah. It's good community. It's good community outreach and growth. I like it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, taking a look here, I mean, we have, of course, pod 1 and pod 2. And you said pod 1 was the results of both stores. It was the ideal or the best of both stores combined, correct?
Well, yeah. So what we see, the pods that existed on day 1 actually are no longer visible. So BCP took both events offline. We had direct support from Ben and Garrett all weekend. They then took and resorted the players and then made the 2 pods live again. So if we look at pod 1 on Best Coast pairings right now, that does represent the players that were in pod 1 on day 2. However, the best finishing player from pod number 2 took 12th place. So when we look at the results from pod 1, players 1 through 10 were the exact first 10 players, finishers of the tournament.
Got it. So it's not like you have to jump from one to the other.
No.
Also,
Well, I mean,
rounds 1 through 3, pod 1 also has both pods worth of pairings, so you can actually see everything that got done in rounds 1 through 3 if you actually want to see those.
Okay. Wow. It's not bad. Looking at some of the final standings here, especially with the overall event, I am shocked to see that we have a very familiar name at the top, which is
Famous.
wonderful.
One of the most famous people in 40K, I would say.
See, I don't know, man. I just remember him just being someone who would sometimes show up with a nice painted army at Endgame in Oakland, and then like that would be it. And now look at him. He's baby's first GT win. Baby's first major win. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Adrian's great. Yeah, no. This is Adrian bringing his cult mech with his team Feel No Shame. He also is part of. He does a lot. He does commission painting. He does he does a lot of video editing. He does his video cast. He's got so much on his plate. Where was Brian?
Brian was not there. So we did have some other members of Team Feel No Shame. But as far as members of the Tabletop Titans podcast, which is of course what Adrian is most famous for to most people, Adrian was the only representative. And I'll let you guys comment on the list as you guys will have the insightful tactics and all that. But I will say that Adrian was an amazing player all weekend. He had a smile on his face all 6 rounds. He did have the small luxury. There were parts of the store that got really hot. The air conditioning broke on day 1.
Oh my God.
There was some extreme man funk going on in some of the back rooms. Our friend Tasty Taste, Mr. Nick Hayden, brought a big old bottle of Axe body spray with him the second day and was axing his opponents.
Can I axe you something?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And so Adrian, as the champion, he got to play on the same table all day long. I think there's a little advantage to that. Tony wanted to run the top table out in the middle of the store. I myself do prefer randomizing tables relative to placement because of this reason. But Adrian, he is a tight player. He smiles. He says exactly what he's going to do. He does that. And holy shit, I thought like my Skaven rolled a lot of dice until I saw Cult Mechanicus play.
I mean, did you just see his scores? He's got 95, a 100, a 97, a 94, a 97, and shucks, that last game he got an 82.
Oh, is that all?
Holy fucking shit.
565 out of a possible 600 score.
Pretty good.
Fuck.
A damn 82 is holding him back.
I mean, also wasn't his 82 against his teammate Jesse?
Yeah.
No, the 82 was against William Saunders and his Salamanders.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Well, taking a look at these top 5 here, we definitely have Adrian with his cult mech, and then we have Jesse Shell. They're both of Team Feel No Shame. We got Jesse with his Ultramarines. We got William Saunders, who ended up losing in the final round to Adrian with his Salamanders. We then have Daniel Olivias with his Soriani. And then we have Jake Nelson with his cult mech also. So also Feel No Shame. Yeah, wow. We got Feel No Shames in the top a lot. And, there are a lot of team names here I'm not even familiar with. And I'm kind of from California. So, I mean, Smite Club, no idea. Hammerhead Games, very obvious who they are. I have Terror Postal Service, very fun name. I really like that a lot. I recognize the names, but not the team names. My favorite one is all the way down near the bottom. There's a Necron player who just is part of Team I Need a Buff. Come on, please. But looking at this cult mech list, like I really, really, really want to just like go in and like hammer down every bit of this codex, because like I feel like I've read a little bit through it, but I haven't read everything yet, and I definitely need to catch up because I remember playing old AdMech, and it's not completely different than like the pre-current codex list, but like, oh boy, he's got Forge World Lucius with I feel like it's going to be a requirement. I think it should be a requirement that everyone upload their lists with ButtScribe. Again, guys, ButtScribe, it makes your list a lot easier to read, and BattleScribe, because BattleScribe is exhausting. But this is, what are we looking at? We are looking at a battalion with Forge World Lucius, with an Skitarii Marshall, which apparently is the bee's knees, because I have seen so many of those between Boise Cup and this event too. I know that they're dirt cheap because they're literally 45 points for a reroll ones to hit and potentially a buff to wound aura, right? Am I wrong on that? Does anyone know? Okay.
I think there was buff to wound auras and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's like almost no reason to never take it, like to take him. And if you double them up in points, or give him 20 more points to have a 9-inch radius rather than a 6-inch, like, yeah, for a 45 wound model or 45 point model, fantastic. I really hope he's only 4 wounds, because if he's 45 points and he can do what he does and he has like 5 wounds, it just would seem silly to me. But anyways, the other part of the battalion, we got 2 tech priests manipuluses. Then we have looks like we have 20 Skitarii Rangers. We have another unit of 20 Skitarii Rangers, but they have different weapons. We then have a unit of 20 Skitarii Vanguards and another unit of 20 Skitarii Vanguards. So he's got 40. Yeah, he has 80 Skitarii on the field. No shit. This is what you meant, John. Got it. Okay, cool. So it's like a horde army, but not. It's like a horde army that'll shoot you off the table. He's then also got Fulgurite Electro Priests, 10 of those. He's got 3 units of 5 Sikaran Infiltrators. Then, of course, you cannot have an AdMech army without the weird, semi-kinky Walker torture devices that are Iron Strider Bestillarii, I'm just going to call them. And he's got 2 units of 3 of those with the twin Cognis las cannons, because apparently you can't have an AdMech list without 4 dozen las cannons that do 3d3 damage. I'm exaggerating, of course, but that is a ton. That is, wow, that is 12 Cognis las cannons that just do better damage than a normal one. And then he finalized everything with a Scorpius Dune Rider, not the gun one, the hovercraft transport, and then also 5 Petraxi. I'm going to call them sterilizers.
They're sterilizers. That is correct.
Sterilizers.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yep.
It's sterilizer, but it's spelled in a funky way. It's spelled like an 80s metal band. It's just like purposefully incorrect, but that's fine.
It's Taraxii. That's how you say
you're
that.
Right. It is
Taraxii. Taraxii sterilizer.
Anyone want to share this with me?
So I will say one thing about his army, 100% converted. He used the new Necrons and Cult Mechanicus.
It was upsetting.
So like his those Iron Strider Ballistari were actually the what are those guys? Oh, I should have one handy. The new, out of the new Indomitus box, the guy with the long, he's like floating, almost looks like a Imperial probe droid with the long legs dangling down.
You mean the reanimator?
Yeah, that's it. The reanimator. Yeah. So he took like the reanimator and fused it with the other Mechanicus kit. So yeah, the entire army was like crazy conversion.
That's awesome. That sounds great.
Wow. Okay. So, and also Forge World Lucius, holy shit. Their dogma is two separate things as a part of their normal rules. They have every time something with a damage characteristic 1 is shot at them, then they get +1 armor save. So most of the game is going to be normal, like 1 damage armor or 1 damage weapons for the most part. So if you're shooting at them or you're attacking them with damage 1, they're +1 fucking armor save. And then you add 3 to the range characteristic of their ranged weapons. So that's fun. But their warlord trait is in the command phase, you can pick 1 Lucius core unit within 9 inches of the warlord, and you can give them transhuman physiology. that is why you bring this. That is why, because he's got the blocks of 20. So you could be like, you know what? I want those Rangers to probably not die because they're all T3. You know, like that is fantastic.
That's exactly what he did. He had these like Magic the Gathering cards with all his buffs, and he'd be like, "This unit is now ultra buffed. It kills whatever it looks at."
And their relic is a Veil of Darkness. It's literally it's called, the Arcana mechanism is Solar Flare, which is a fucking Admech or Necron stratagem, but we don't need to talk about that. It's literally identical. You do it once per battle, but it's in your movement phase. It doesn't say end of movement phase or anything like that. It says once per battle in your movement phase, the bearer of this relic, if it does so, the bearer's unit and up to one friendly Lucius core unit within 3 inches of the bearer can be removed from play and put anywhere on the battlefield outside of 9 inches from enemy models, as long as they are also 6 inches within each other. That is identical to Veil of Darkness. So fun. Admech have Veil.
Well, and basically what happens is the Tyraxii drop in, shoot, and then disappear.
How do they drop in?
They have a stratagem.
They have a stratagem that at the end of their turn, they go back into reserves.
The Tyraxii sterilizers?
Yeah.
There's 4 to 9 of them. What are they? They're not a new unit, are they?
They are. They're the new jump pack unit. The
the jump pack guys.
The wingy guys. Yeah.
2 wounds, 4 up save. Yeah, I could see 12-inch range, assault D6, strength 4, -1.
So
it's fun.
I'm gonna preface this with saying Adrian deserves this win, and I'm not gonna shit on, like, he's a really good player, obviously, because he plays a lot. And yes, there's a but. But I think there needs to be a rule for 40K now where majors have to wait until the army gets back. Because it's been, like, I'll give you a context of how bad 40K is. Boise Cup, 40% of the field was Admech.
Not
and if
40.
you include if you include Necrons and Admech, it was like 50% of the field.
Why would you include Necrons to that? That was an abnormal site.
It was the most 2 popular armies. Like, you got like 40,
which is abnormal.
40 players, and you got like Necrons and Admech. And Drakari, we had 1 Drakari player.
Whoa.
It's almost as if, because the fact came out, that all the Drakari players decided, fuck it, I'm gonna go play something that can counter Admech. We had
context.
Like literally.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just saying, like, because of the fact you had literally all the Drakari players, like we had a bunch of like 3 or 5 Admech armies at Boise that were like full 3D prints, and as far as we know, they were 3D printed that week.
They were, yeah, they absolutely were.
Printed that week of the event, and like some of them were like not badly painted by any stretch of the mile. They were perfectly fine for tournament play, but it was like 40K has turned into, like, what appears to me like people just chasing whatever the vanilla of the month is for competitive gaming, because the Games Workshop can't help themselves into publishing massive power creeps that they have to then backtrack when the fact comes out. So we'll see what the fact for Admech is, but it is like, I think it was our good buddy Ben Viscara on our team pointed out that apparently over the weekend Admech had a 72% winning rate, or was it Admech was it Drakari? So it was either one of those two, and then Admech or the other army was like in the high 60s. Like
they both were. I had the meme where it said, it was the meme. It was like, so and so person that will not be named, who is a big main person in Games Workshop right now. It was like, oh, don't worry, Admech will balance it. Or it was like everyone worried about Admech. Person who will not be named, don't worry, Admech is going to balance them out. And it was like Admech release, like now Drakari and Admech both have 70% win rates. Like,
I mean, for me, the idea of like mechanics like deep striking and then like running, like being off the table, then the exact same turn, like
the fact that it's not end of the movement phase is insane.
That's not a good game mechanic like at all. Like by design, that is not a good game mechanic. There's no counterplay there. Like they appear, they shoot, they disappear. Like
Yeah,
okay.
and I have my Veil of Darkness is at the end of the movement phase. That sure does balance that ability out. And this
Yeah.
one doesn't have that. That's insane.
End of turn.
What?
Yeah.
You
talking about
disappear
the
at the
strategy.
end of the turn, not at the end of
But
the movement phase.
Alex is saying that he thinks the AdMech one, you could the Veil of Darkness AdMech version, you can use it during movement phase and still retain the ability to move. I don't think you could do.
It says in the movement phase, you could deep strike, use it, and then you can teleport away.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they don't. Yeah. So also,
So you
like
can
the big
teleport.
thing-
You can be so. This is what I'm trying to say. Maybe Adrian used this, maybe he didn't. But I'm reading this right now, and I am reading this like if a unit like those deep strikers can deep. I mean these parallaxy sterilizers. Yeah, they have thermal riders. During deployment, you can set this unit up in the sky instead, and it can be a reinforcement.
They don't need to use the Veil. He uses the Veil for the 20, one of the unit of 20 Vanguards.
He might. It depends on his matchup. What I'm trying to tell you is because the way that rule is written, he can potentially. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. Maybe he didn't. He could deep strike a unit, throw them onto the table, do their shooting at the end of his player turn. Deep strike them away. Or no, pardon me. The end, or sometime in his movement phase. The end of his movement phase is still his movement phase. He could deep strike, shoot at the end of his movement phase, and then
yes, I'm saying he doesn't have to use the Veil on the sterilizer.
He doesn't have to. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway, also like the introduction of dark lenses, blasters, and twin cognates last cannon. I'm sorry, but like, why is that in the game? Like, flat 4 damage weapons? Like, why?
Oh yeah.
Remember how they tried to make
Why?
vehicles viable again by making so they don't give up a lot of points, and then they just bring out flat 4
Well,
damage?
not even vehicles, but like think of like heavy intercessors, custodes, like anything with like I have 3 to 4 wounds, and it's just like cool. This gun just wipes you out. It's like I'm so glad I brought like everybody in the game at the beginning of this edition. I remember was like, oh my god, Space Marines are 2 wounds, like all these like, and like they made heavy bolters damage too. It's like okay, well it's like maybe they'll like raise the damage value and stuff like this, but like that's like crazy good. Like minimum damage 4, that's insane. Like
That's a lot of damage, especially with something that takes multiple shots.
I think the issue is that like the fact that you can bring so many shots versus them, like back in the day, you brought like 8 las cannons. Like I'm talking about like 5th edition, and like that was all of your anti-tank. It was 8. You had 8 shots, so you could kill 8 guys. Now it's like you can bring like 16 to 20 shots, and you're just like.
Well, the other thing too is like the AdMech list. As far as I understand, I don't know much about AdMech, but I do know that those blasters, they can hit on 2s, and they're gonna win on 3s, potentially with a reroll, because I think they're core.
Yeah.
So like every one of those guns is like like statistically almost close to like 85% 8 damage at the minimum. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's an insane mechanic.
I mean, you're doing 20 to 24 damage to high armor targets.
Yeah. And do you imagine being like, aha, I have the Raven Wing book and the Dark Angel Codex comes out, and Raven Wing and Deathwing are looking pretty good, like they can compete to the meta. And then you introduce dark lenses and this, and you're like, why do I even bother showing up to the fucking table? Like every one of these weapons like are perfectly designed to just wipe out like whatever like I show up with.
Yeah.
I understand that they wanted to make like las cannons and dark lenses slightly better than like regular las cannons or the Cognis version. Why not just give them reroll damage? Why the fuck did you give them flat 4? That's insane. Just give them the innate reroll damage. I don't understand. Like make it at least a little bit interesting for like some like spice it up with luck. I mean, it's just all it does is just gravitates player towards like only taking these. Like
that's why we had so many 3D printed AdMech armies that were very clearly like potentially. Well, there were a few really skilled painters that brought them, so you could tell that they.
Well, to remember, Adrian also gets a he gets to see the rules earlier than like most players. So he got to actually know what the army was. I'm sure he did a lot of work in like a month, basically built, converted, and painted. But like most of the players we went on Boise Cup, they saw the rule like a week before the book like went on sale, and like they got that shit like done in a week, basically 3D printed and painted. So for me personally, I'm just saying, going back full circle with my statement, majors, and it's also a lesson AOS needs to learn potentially for 3.0. You need to wait for a FAQ for an army before you basically allow it at a tournament, which sounds really shitty, but everybody's going to be glad that happens, because you know how many times players are like, I bought, like, remember the Dark Eldar FAQ like an edition ago, which made Raisin Wings like shit, where like you had Alan PJ Pants showed up with like 300 Raisin Wings or something, and then the FAQ dropped
there's
that
a story
weekend.
to that.
I know we're not going to go into it, but the point is that like it's just good etiquette for both your wallet, both tournament play, and like if you just wait for the fucking FAQ before you decide to show up to an army.
Well, they say never buy the army before the FAQ, right?
Yes, but with 3D printing around and like Advance allowing 3D printed models, becomes more of a problem, right? Like it's just like, but well, it cost me $70 to build a $1,600 ad make list. Now, I will defend the 3D printing aspect because I think it's insane that Games Workshop decided that the ad make model range would be so fucking expensive to build. But it is kind of at the same time, like they're shooting themselves in the foot here. If they were like, hey, like if we wanted to sell more AdMech stuff, maybe make it a little bit more affordable so people don't think like I could just spend, you know, $100 of like printable plastic and an $800 machine and still come out on top. So,
I did see one cool conversion at the tournament for what it's worth. Somebody took the Titanicus models and converted some of those to become the robots for their AdMech army.
The Castellans. Castellans, yeah. Which I heard like they don't have the core keyword, so like it really hurts them, and they required it feels like I look at these lists right now and I compare them to last editions or last previous AdMech list, and basically all the stuff people used to take in old AdMech is gone. So if you wanted to play competitive AdMech, moving over to this from this book to this book, you'd have to rebuy and repaint an entire fucking army effectively.
Wow.
Because like almost all of the things I'm used to seeing were like totally gone.
I say that's a GW trope. I mean,
yeah,
you know, I have large Space Marine collections. The new book comes out, and all of a sudden, all the best stuff are things I don't own, despite having a complete Space Marine collection. I have a large Necron collection. New book comes out, and guess what? The tastiest stuff are new things that I need to buy. So that's just GW, right?
I'm just wary of any books that were released in a period of time where Games Workshop said they don't have enough data to make good decisions. So maybe wait for the fucking FAQ before you allow these armies in your events, because I'm guessing it wasn't. Let's look at what Adrian played for a second. Let's look what he played. He played round one. He played. Wait, no, this must be fucked because it says Jesse Cell like 4 times. So I guess he didn't play those. Oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong person. I'm looking at the wrong person. I'm bad. He played Adrian played Chris Nelson, who was, let's look, Death Guard. And then he played Aaron Weissman, which was Dark Angels. And then he played Dustin Lane, which was Orcs. And then he played Adam Dye, which was more Death Guard. Like, I'm guessing, like...
He didn't play Orcs. He played, that was Drukari.
Oh, I'm looking at the list. It's Drukari. Okay, it just says somehow it listed the army as I see. I read Cult of Red Grief. I read it as Cult of Speed. So my bad. And I mean, like all of those lists I'm describing right now are like high wound content, except for Drukari, except they're just basically the high wound content of raiders. And then you're just walking around with a bunch of like damage for like weapons, just like nuking them off the Death Guard list. I think one of them had like 8 bright Lord Terminators. That's just like that must be the most like sad event. Like anytime one of those cognates last kind of wounds you and you fail a save, you're like, I guess my 5-up save ain't gonna save me for that.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, bikes and Terminators are real painful when they get hit by that shit, right?
I know it's just it. I'm guessing the fact's not gonna really change much in that phase, but it was telling to me that like when the Dracari fact showed up, fucking only one Dracari player at Boise. Yeah. So anyway,
Well,
let's
speaking of
talk about
Space Marines. Did you see Jesse Sell's list?
you played Ultramarines.
He did. He brought Emperor Spears. He's got the Primaris. He's got a battalion with a chapter master, a Libby, Primaris chapter master, Primaris Libby, Primaris Tech Marine, 2 units of assault intercessors, and then 1 unit of incursors, and then 2 mini. And these are all min units. 2 units of intercessors, and then he brought, of course, 5 Blade Guide veterans. He then also brought the 2 Invictor Warsuits, 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and 2 squads of Eradicators. Just to barrel through into the other Space Marine list for 3rd place, the Salamander one was also Primaris Chapter Master, Primaris Librarian, Primaris Tech Marine in a battalion. But then they also have 2 units of 5 Heavy Intercessors, 1 unit of Incursors, and 2 units of Intercessors. This is a common theme. They've had.
We'll say on Williams' list, being Salamanders, he had 1 little mechanic that he could use a stratagem to make his what is that thing called? The impulsor count as if it had not moved, which allowed him to disembark and assault with his blade guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really important to note that I misspoke. I read the same list twice on 2 different tabs here. The Salamander list, is not identical in any fashion. So I do apologize. And I'm glad to hear that they had that buff. It looks like, it was instead Salamanders starting off with a captain on a bike, lieutenant, a Primaris lieutenant, then a unit of 7, or pardon me, 8 assault intercessors rather, a unit of 5 heavy intercessors, unit of 5 incursors, then 2 squads, min squads of aggressors, 1 Blade Guide veteran squad, 1 Judicar, 1 Primaris apothecary, 3 units of eradicators, and then like you said, John, an impulsor. Sounded like he did pretty well.
Yeah, he did pretty well until that impulsor. He was going to drive it up and disembark the blade guard to assault all those Skitarii, and instead the super buffed unit opened up, killed the vehicle, and then the next unit killed all the dudes inside, and that was the game. Like at that moment, it was cleanup for our friend Adrian.
So what is it about this guitar? I guess I just don't see it.
So it's honestly, it's without looking at the codex, without looking at the they don't call them battle hymns. What do they call their canticles?
Canticles, yeah.
So it's all about those interactions, and Adrian played them very well. I mean, there's ones where they're taking like minuses. They take some huge minuses, but instead get some huge pluses instead. I was listening to some that kind of stuff going on, and I think it's just about Adrian playing the right canticle, the right stratagem, the right tactic, the right buff on the right unit at the right time.
Yeah, I mean there's like one of the big ones that increases your ability to hit, reduces your movement speed. But if you have a veil, who gives a shit about your movement speed? You just teleport them where you need to be, and you're like, okay, like max firepower, let's go.
That's the one I'm talking about too, with the reduction to movement speed. Yeah, it really didn't matter. He kind of just set the units up, parked each one in its own little fortress of death, and then killed anything that came near.
Wow.
No, it's I'm sure those kind of stuff isn't going to get touched because it seems to be like, but it is a little daunting for any new player to come to a table and have to realize that your opponent has to activate like 30 different mechanics before his turn starts. It's a little daunting.
That's true. I mean, watching somebody like Adrian, who plays so tightly and so cleanly, has the card, so it's all very clear, all very up and up. He leaves the cards by the units, so we know which buffs are active. However, I could see a player that was a little less tight, shall we say, accidentally taking advantage of those situations, or alternately, a player who can't manage all of that, basically wrecking themselves by forgetting everything. So it is definitely a skill army, but Mechanicus always has been that, right? I mean, in many ways, the army has not changed. This is how this army has always been. Played well, executed well, Canticle's done well, thing is deadly. I remember playing against Jeff Robinson back, God rest his soul, back in the day with his Mechanicum, and just brutal. Like I have rarely lost so quickly. Or been tabled.
It's just they were doing such a good job, outside of stratagems and reducing like the complexity of like army allegiances. So it was kind of sad to see them go back a little, like they wanted to add flavor and personality to AdMech, but then they just kind of like fucked it up by like making it too much of a token bloat. I think for me, I wasn't playing in the Boise Cup 40K, but hearing Carl describe his game with Tanner, where like basically Tanner has like a bucket of tokens. And it's just kind of like, and he just starts telling him like what he's doing of all things. And I'm sure it's all up and up, but it's just like, as in the other guy at the table and like, fuck, he could just make up rules. Like I don't fucking know. Like, you're not gonna challenge every single one of them, because like, holy fuck, do they have so many of them? So
yeah, that's the problem that I see with this army. Is wielded by a top player, it's an amazing top army. Wielded by less than a top player, it's a confusing mess, and they probably win anyways because they're taking advantage of that confusing mess.
Or their confusion that allows them to win. Anyway, let's talk about a better game system, for fuck's sake, because I'm tired of
I think it's
it's
about fine time that we do that.
I will simply close my thoughts on the Hammerhead GT, that's saying that running a GT, being the TO, I definitely leveled up my 40K skill. I have answered all the rules questions. I have seen all the interactions, and I have seen how all the armies play. So I'm feeling much, much better at the game as far as that go. And I will say to all players, anyone who plays 40K, the number one thing people asked about, actions. God damn it. Just read the section on actions and know how they work.
Also,
people.
Should we just start playing Frank Sinatra's My Way, because John Blake did it his way? So.
He did do it his way. I will say one final thing about this event. I have to correct myself. I told you guys that my favorite team name of this event that I had seen was I Need a Buff. That is incorrect. I have one member of a team who got 10th place and is shocking, Cult Mech. The Pierogi Posse is my favorite team name by a lot. So that being said, not to necessarily say that we're shifting laterally to a better game system, because they are very similar game systems, but maybe a healthier meta with a new addition. Who knows what will happen? I'm not here to say anything, but I'm very confident that things are going to be going pretty well. We of course have the final 2.0 tournament for Age of Sigmar that at least I'm playing in. One of these jack-offs in this episode has to play 2 more months of 2.0, or at least has to retain the knowledge of that, because he has to go to Milan. But we of course had we of course did have the Boise Cup Age of Sigmar GT as well. There was a 40K GT as well, or also, and it was run by Aaron Albert, our good friend and teammate, and a wonderful human being all around. We stayed at his place. It was fantastic. It was really, really good to see Boise. It was a very bizarre drive for me, because it was a part of the world that I truly forgot. And I do not mean that in a bad way, but I also kind of do. it was very interesting to experience that. And Boise itself is a beautiful town. The downtown was really interesting. Wish I got to see a little bit more of it. But the game store, ABU Games, it was also really, really unique and really, really fun. We've been to small game stores, we've been to big game stores. When I first came up from the Bay Area up here to Portland and I saw Guardian Games, it was very warehouse vibey, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge game store. Well, their game store is like either an old like fitness center gym or the old gymnasium building plus of like a school. And I'm kind of leaning on the latter from the way it's structured, because it is truly a basketball gym where they had the 40K event, and then they had like a locker room, like an expanded locker room that they had the AOS event at. What?
We were in the squash room. I'm pretty sure there used to be a squash room.
You think that was squash? Oh, okay. I see that. Yeah. That was probably
yeah.
squash. Yeah. Okay. And the games, and it's a game store itself too. It's a venue. It's a game store. The game store's in the front, and all this other stuff's in the back. And it so clearly used to be something completely different. So it was really, really unique. And they had a great product there. Again, ABU Games. They were really, really cool to have the event go on there. And well, we were able to get a GT for AOS there too. And, it was the weekend before 3.0. So it was just this last weekend. Interesting spread of players, but of course, a lot of the usual suspects in the Pacific Northwest creeped out. Pacific Northwest traditionally, for those who may not necessarily be aware, is hyper active with Age of Sigmar, or at least competitive Age of Sigmar. We normally have a lot of great players, a lot of events. With COVID, that has seen a severe slowdown. We have seen very few events, but people are still very eager to go. We had people from Victoria's Secret to show up. We had people from Damama's Boys show up, DMB. We had a team that I had never encountered before, the Rage Babies, show up. Of course, us Corsairs were also there in full force. And, there were a couple of Helveticans here and there as well. So, from the Spokane region. So it was a really cool event. However, what's not very cool is talking about the standings.
Yeah, we could skip over. We could skip over that if you want.
It was a great event. Have a good night, folks. As a shocker to no one, we did have our very own French overlord, Jeremy Vessier, with his KO, Barak Urbaz, in first place. We also had another Corsair, our good old Quigley Wiggly, Cody Quigley, with his Flesh Eater Court Blister Skin list. And then we had in third place, because of something very dumb on my part, we did not have me, but instead we had our good friend Nicholas Baram, the Hammer, we shall call him, and he had his Draconian's Tail. And then I got fourth place because I tied for third and my SOS was awful. So yeah. Did any of you guys look through some of these lists? Did we are we gonna Jeremy, you want to pat yourself on the back real quick? You want to talk about your list?
Why would I pat myself on the back? It's as expected. I'm just
okay.
No,
all I gotta say is my comment after Alex won the RTT the other week has proven true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which was? I forgot. Remind me.
Jeremy wasn't there.
Yes.
Oh, got it.
When there's no Jeremy, Alex will be the number one player.
Oh my God. I will make I'll focus on like a couple things, and we'll talk about our game for sake of time and so forth.
Of course.
But playing, it was a good send off for KO. Because in 3.0 right now, without a fact, they are literally fucking dead in the water. Or dead in the skies, if you think about it. So you probably won't see a lot of them. You'll see some diehard players who are going to keep playing him, obviously. But in terms of the rules change to 3.0, they got hit pretty hard in the way the game works, in the way the rules work, and so forth. Anyway, so it was a good send off for them. I will say I did end up like at some point due to accidental like TO and BCP interaction. I don't know which one to blame. I don't really care. I was paired down in round 3 because they put my score as the wrong entry, which honestly which was honestly probably ended up actually being a much harder game than it should have for me because I played against Thunder Lizards, and oh my god, the fucking Thunder Lizards like counter KO shooting.
Did they actually count? You played Brian?
Yeah, like I did like 3 wounds and 2 rounds of shooting to his like Bastiladon
How do
and
you
his
still
like
win?
it was knife to the heart. I won. So knife to the heart is a mission where
yes.
not is the mission where you basically if you own there's only 2 objectives in the table, one each deployment zone, and it's a really bad mission and it's about to go away. Thank fucking god. And it was basically if you own both of those objectives, any point after turn 3, battle round 3, you win the game. I won priority on turn 2, shot off Croak and the skinks that were on the objective. I had a battalion that allowed me to basically disembark after moving. I got to move, disembark, and get the point after killing all of his models on the point, win the game. And that was it. So it was a miserable conclusion to that game because I honestly was like, oh my God, I think this is the first time I ran into a list where like KO shooting just cannot chew through like the actual core elements of a list. Killing Croak was actually like not that hard. Now that I found out like he lost his shrug save, so it wasn't a big problem, and he didn't have any tempo guard. So after I killed the skinks, like it was kind of like, all right, Croak, here you take like 18 wounds and you're fucking dead. All right, so that was the end. That was the only big like recap I would say for day 1. Did you have any recap for day 1 you want to talk about, Alex?
I mean, there's one that kind of goes into the end and then a couple of others. I mean, you know, with my events, I played against Cities of Sigmar round 1. I played against Victoria's Secret member and his Bellacore Slaves of Darkness list game 2. And then game 3, I played against Evan G from DMB's Sons of Behemoth and Knife to the Heart. And let me tell you what, I don't need to go through my army list because, again, 3.0 is literally in a couple of days, so it's not really, who cares about a list that's not even going to be legal anymore. But because I do drop my like swarm of chain rasps down, like my 3.0 list, which is not going to be a list because I'm not going to play them, is like 45 less models, and the army doesn't work in 3.0. But just like KO. But we played Knife to the Heart with Sons of Bahamut with each one of the 3 Mega Gargants and one squad or 2 squads of the regular man eaters, right? They're called man eaters. Man crushers. Yeah, I think it was 3. Yeah, it was 3 man crushers, and then all 3 of the regular Mega Gargants. And you know, he was very honest. He said, "Hey man, like if I kill enough guys and I just swarm your objective, and or like have one guy on my objective and like a few on yours, I can win this." And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You actually can, because until they drop down to 0 wounds, you know, each one of the man crushers are worth 20 points each to a total of 60. And each one of the Mega Gargants are worth, until they die, 30 to a, grand total between all 3 of 120 models. So he could easily put all 6 of his models within 3 inches, or at least 4 of them, within inches of my objective. And technically, because of how big their bases are, even if I filled up all the empty space with my guys, he could probably still win. So I was a little shaking my boots. And he also told me, under no uncertain terms, that he was joking, but it took me a while to figure out that he was joking, because he was like, I don't care if Jeremy wins. I just care if you lose. And I would like to knock you out right now. And I would like to see you suffer. And lo and behold, there were a couple of turns where he forgot to kick his objective further and further into his corner, but it didn't necessarily matter in the end, because it did end up tabling him, which means that by the end of any such turn, I would just walk towards his objective, and that would be that in Knife to the Heart. But holy shit, it was a hell of a game. And then my first round opponent ended up being a teaching game because he was brand new to the game. He drove all the way down from Pullman, Washington. It was really, really cool and really nice of him to show up because we needed like a ringer, and it was, really great that he was able to participate. The only unfortunate thing is I think that he only played 2 games, which was unfortunate that he was only able to play 2 games because it would be great to have him go to the entire event. But on top of that, my strength schedule saw a severe nosedive. So I ended up tying for third, but our friend Nick, who is also an incredibly skilled player, who tied for third with me, he had a massively better strength schedule. So I wasn't necessarily going to complain with that. It was good to see him do as well as he did. But that was my day 1 after lots of drinking and lots of contemplating life and not having breakfast or coffee going into round 4. How is at least your final 2 games, Jeremy? Or how about your day 2, just in general?
Wait. Before we jump into day 2, I got a comment on your day 1. First off, total dick move. I love it.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
Wow, was that actually somebody who listens to our show?
No, but Alex forgot to mention a key component of that story, which is that the reason he told him that is because there's a GT that he runs or helps run called the Mammoth or whatever the Mammoth Boys GT is called, and Alex played a guy who never came back to the event because he crushed him so hard, and also never came back to any AOS events ever after. Then never saw the guy again. Like,
it was new OBR without an FAQ at a GT. It's not my fault. It's not. I told him how to.
They were so happy. They're like, another local that plays AOS. He plays Alex 1 game, and the guy is never to be seen again.
You're gonna give me.
I can see that. I can see that actually. And second, my other comment is on the scoring. When I, as a TO, enter scores into the BCP app, I enter the scores, and then I show it to one player and say, do these scores look correct to you? Then I show it to the second player, do these scores look correct to you? And when they both say yes, then I hit enter.
Yeah, 100%. I do that every single time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, I mean, it was the worst part is like I went to chase a TO, could not find him. He ended up being in the room talking to my opponent, which gave him the right score. And then I asked him, did you give me 80 points and him, whatever? And he said, yeah, don't worry, thumbs up. So I was like, cool,
Oh.
Walked away, didn't check the score before my 3rd round. And then like after we were entering our score after our game, I was just like, wait, I have a loss on round 2. What the fuck? And the worst part of the story, it gets worse because if I ended up playing the person I should have played, it would have been Cody on our team, who ended up playing Larry, which I just played around 2. So it would have been an inverse. I would have played Cody and Larry would have played that Thunder Lizard list, which would have been way harder for the Thunder Lizard list. And also Cody would have just been like, also had a much harder game. But anyway, the point was, it was, outside of that, it was just kind of a rough day 1 for it was a good day 1 for me. I maxed out all my secondaries because the way that they did a kind of battle point system, you got 60 points for a major win, and then you got 10 points for each second or tertiary you achieved, which was kind of weird because tertiary already settled ties. So tertiaries were like super important in this event.
What was your max score from tertiaries?
Well, the event it's 20 per game, so it would have been 100 points from tertiaries. And Alex decided that he was gonna submarine, so he did 70, 70, 70, and I did 80, 80, 80, which I only bring that up because it matters for our game a lot. So anyway, day 2 begins. I play Nicholas Braham, who's probably if not one of the best Seraphon player I've ever played in my experience. And he brought, I wouldn't say like a non-optimized list. It was pretty optimized, but he didn't bring Croak because it was new Croak, and he just he didn't have him painted, so he didn't want to bring new Croak, and also new Croak is worse than old Croak, so it probably works out in his favor. But the mechanic in that game was like at any point, like I I managed to take an early lead, and he kept creeping up on that lead the entire game. And if he won every initiative but turn 5 initiative, and if he won turn 5 initiative, I would have lost the game, probably hands down, because I was fighting to keep my early lead the entire round, and he's just like blowing me off the table. I mean, I'm blowing him off the table. I think that the combined amount of models left on the table at the end of the game was I had my ironclad undamaged, an admiral undamaged, and the ironclad, and that's it. And he had his Sloan and 10 skinks he summoned on the round 5, and that's it. It was like a brutal game. He summoned like 3 salamanders over the game and like 20 skinks, I think. So like I ended up playing effectively like 500 points of, like 2,500 to my 2,000 points. Never got to use the warp lightning vortex because he just nuked him like on the first turn or second turn,
Right.
which didn't, which on this matchup didn't really matter anyway. But there was a lot of important things. And then I walked into round 5, and lo and behold, I'm playing. What do I call you? My nemesis, or do I call you?
Nemesis? I'm your fucking.
my-
I don't know. We don't know.
I don't know.
3.0 now. It doesn't matter. Everything resets.
Sure,
take
everything resets.
Sure.
Still don't know what.
Really
Still
cool.
don't know what to call you. Like
Whipping boy.
You're my measuring stick, I guess, is the way you describe it.
Yikes. Yikes.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it at that point.
That's fine.
So
It's
anyway,
fine. It's fine.
we ended up rolling the TO. So for context for the audience, it's 5 rounds, but it's 7 missions in the packet, and the TO basically randomizes the missions based on the 7 missions he picked, which I actually really like as a concept. But he saved, or I don't know if he saved, or just happened to be that arcane 3 places arcane power, or the last mission we played. I'm going in this game, and I'm playing Alex. We've played this game many times. I have 2 heroes. He has 6. And I'm thinking, and I'm just telling the audience what I'm going in. And I'll let you go. And I look at this, and I'm like, Alex, we've played this game 100 times. Well, not 100 times literally, but quite a few times. I'm like, all he's got to do is kill any of my heroes, and he's got like the upper hand. So I look at him dead in the eyes. I'm like, it's your time, Alex. I think you're gonna win this. And this is as we walk up to the table, and now Alex cue scene.
Well, real quick before we do that, I got to give a shout out to my round 4 opponent, Matthew K. I've played him a ton of times. It was an incredibly tight game. He killed both my units of 40 chain rasps, became 18-man units of chain rasps in the first turn because he had Seraphon, he had salamanders, double Slan. It was brutal as hell. But his second turn, his spells just turned off. I either was able to unbind them or they just didn't cast, and he didn't summon enough, and I just like swamped his stuff. But it was a really close game. It literally came down to like certain charges at the very end, and we always play a great tight game. But
wait. Now here's I'm going to jump in. Rather than arch rival, I am going to go with Corey Val. Alex is Jeremy's Corey Val.
What does that mean?
To rival, to pretend, to equal.
Pretend to equal is probably a good point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna go that way. I was thinking like what's that? Like nobody remembers it, but the German biker that was competing for Lance Armstrong for like always got second place
yes.
the entire time.
Oh my God, I hate this. Well, I hate that. Oh, I don't know. So much.
Well, that's called also ran.
Oh my God.
Anyways, well, going into that round, see, we were in the lunch break, and Jeremy was like, Alex, this is he said, like you mentioned, this is your one to win. But then he kept on telling me at least multiple times, or at least more than once, we've played this mission before. This I'm gonna lose. We literally played this the other day, and it was 3 places of power. I do have 6 characters, there's 2. But I was thinking, I was like, I'm pretty sure he killed all my characters like immediately. What mission did we play? And then as we're deploying, I look up at him and I'm like, we played Blade's Edge. We didn't play 3 places of power. Played Blade's Edge. You killed my characters almost immediately, and I won because you couldn't take the objectives from me, and the objectives were disappearing. So he then, I think, discovers that he's probably going to win this game at that moment. But yeah, he was definitely hyping it up like, oh man, yeah, no, I'm fucked. And he was not fucked. But I knew it was going to be a hard game. And
Rebuttal.
I knew what?
Rebuttal. I knew I was going to win that game when you lost.
Fuck off. What?
When you lost like, and you lost a bunch of characters, and I'll let you tell the story about how many characters you lost.
I don't have to lose. I don't have to tell you. Okay. Of course, shocking. In a mission where characters hold objectives only, you knew you were going to win the game when the characters died.
Well, you rolled like shit. You rolled awful on turn one.
So we found this real fun thing in retrospect. In Places of Arcane Power, you basically have weird corner square deployments. Not gonna have to deal with at least that in that mission anymore. Thank God for 3.0. But yeah, I put my characters in a little bit of a spread out position. I put a few knowing that they would be sacrificial lambs and they'd be able to get shot immediately. Me totally forgetting that KO had 36-inch range weapons and not maxing out at 24. I don't know why I was thinking that, but I did. So that's how I deployed. I was like, cool. There's like 2 characters he will fully be able to like get with everything, but he won't be able to get everything with everything. So I made sure to also spread my characters out pretty widely, whereas normally I wouldn't do that, but I was mainly concerned with the Warp Lightning Vortex, knowing full well he had that with a spell in a bottle. How I should have done things is I should have had 1 unit of 40 chain rafts moving around the entire perimeter of my deployment zone, and maybe having another unit of 40 closer to the general, closer to the Dreadblade Harrow, and then I should have had the Dreadblade Harrow on the table. And then I should have had maybe the 3rd battle line unit and 1 unit of play guys. I should have had chaff units and my 2 blobs in my deployment zone, and I should have kept everything else off the board. I should have only had like my general and those chaff units, and then I could teleport the general to wherever else the rest of the army is going to be and redeploy everything while taking a loss to whatever I deployed on the army or deployed on the table before. That is frankly what I should have done, because the general would not have died. Because if I put my general in the corner of my deployment and spread out on the deployments, he wouldn't have been able to sky high. He would have had to be 9 inches away from my guys, which means that even the 36-inch range gun would not be able to hit my general. Yeah, didn't work out. I did not deploy that way. So
you know what the difference between the best player and the second best player is? Knowing those things during the game or after the game.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we talked about it after the game. And he's like, I don't know if that would have worked well for you. And then like later that night, he was like, I actually think that would have worked well for you. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
But
well, I think it's a good strategy. It's just the only problem was for me was like sequential scoring, because if you keep all your heroes in setup mode and I keep like a unit on the objective, like it takes you come in on turn 1 deep striking, you can't score on turn 1 unless you make the charge, and assuming you can get within 3 inches of the objective. So you're like in the same position KO is, which is basically you don't start scoring until like turn 2 or turn 3 if you're really bad.
Well, hindsight's 2020. I also say that because I didn't realize that when you got out of your ship, you also didn't count as scoring. Like I assumed that there was a chance that was true. That's why I was like, oh, so he counts as being set up outside of the boat, right? And he's like,
I told you,
yeah,
I told you that, like literally.
No, I know, and I looked shocked because I was assuming
doesn't count as scoring.
I was assuming, but I was also just trying to fuck around with you. And then you were like, yeah, no, you're 100%. I'm not scoring it. And I was like, what? Like,
yeah. I will say in that game though, like when we played the Blades Edge matchup and we lost so many characters, it's because you bundled them up and the Lightning Vortex did like a shit ton of damage. And like I remember distinctively in that game shooting with my army and like almost like not killing any of them, because like Nighthawk ignoring Ren and really counters like a part of the like powers of KO. But in that game, you just could not fucking make saves. So like he lost his Dreadblade Herald to like the lone single shot like cannon from the Ironclad, and I was just like, it was already a gamble because I wasn't in range of like doing anything else in a single shot, and I was just like, he failed his save and then died.
Feels bad, man.
And then the Nightmare Lantern, like basically, almost equivalent, same exact thing happening. He died exactly to the right amount of damage, which was incredibly lucky. And then the Raikkonen took 3 wounds out of kind of random shots more than anything. So I felt like it was a combination of because in my head I was thinking I was going in the game and I'm like, I did this thing for context for KO players, which I think is the only way you win that mission for KO players, if it still existed, which is I basically dropped another chemist on the center objective and blockaded him with boats, so he couldn't make any charges onto him, and he doesn't have enough shooting to necessarily shoot him off the table either. And I just ended up thinking I'm gonna kill 1 hero in the first turn at best if I dedicate all my shots at it. And he ended up I ended up killing 2.5, which was a huge that buys me an extra turn of shooting in my head, because every time I kill an extra hero, it's 1 less round of shooting I have to waste. And the other thing that really fucked Alex was that the Excruciator didn't get powered up, which was a huge huge change.
My dice turned off completely.
And then he failed to charge with some heroes and objectives, which prevented him to get the objective 1 turn earlier. There was a bunch of things in this game, from situational dice roll, and also I won initiative every turn. But the reason I'm telling the story is that I don't think Alex was out of the running. I think his dice basically kind of cucked him in that matchup.
My dice said, you know what? No, you don't get this.
Well, the strategy also would have been probably better in retrospect, but at the table, I didn't think there was anything wrong with what you were doing. I think your dice cut you at the table. But in overall hindsight of the event, though, because you were basically not maxing out points on day 1, you lost 2nd place.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's kind of a crazy situation to be in. And as much as I want to say if we were gonna play each other anyway at the weekend, might as well play it on round 2 or 3, not round 5.
Yeah, seriously. I gotta say, you're right. And for context here too about the 70-point thing, I don't always try to strategize going and submarining. I did it a lot in 40K. I do it sometimes in AOS, but my first few games in the event, I purposefully got 70 points so that I could maybe avoid a mid-game Jeremy game, and maybe just try to get what I can get. But the problem was, day 1, I definitely was trying to purposefully get 70 points, at least for the first 2. The 3rd one I couldn't get, and then the 4th one I couldn't get, and I was like, shit. Okay, so I'm just gonna have 70 points for all the wins. So hey, maybe you should actually go for it next time, right? So yeah, it was really fun, but of course we don't have to worry about playing those missions or those armies anymore, because we of course have 3.0 present and accounted for as of tomorrow. So not tomorrow, Saturday.
Well, tomorrow to our listeners.
Yep.
Tomorrow to our listeners. Yes. Real quick, John, what kind of sprue do you have there?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, am also working on heavy intercessors, much like Jeremy.
I finished my 10 because I'm a terrible hobbyist.
I've built my first sergeant, but all the mold lines have been cleaned. There are no mold lines on this model.
Okay.
And so that's how I roll. I just clean those right off as I clip it from the sprue, as I glue it.
I can't clean my mold lines. Carl Payne has told me that he charges me extra, and I don't want to take money out of his meals now.
Yeah, I finally asked him. We drove down to Redmond to drive. We drove down to Redmond the night before. Then we drove from on Friday from Redmond to Boise, and because it was a 3-hour trip and then a 6-hour trip, so it's better to split those into 2 days. And I just kind of asked him, hey, Jeremy doesn't clean his models. Have you ever thought of maybe charging him a little extra for that? I didn't even finish my sentence. And he was just like, oh yeah, I always add an extra 5 minutes to each model. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, it's a little premium when it's like a 40, 50 model army. That's
You're basically paying an extra hour per squad.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, okay, that's fair. But yeah, it was.
I have zero regret about that.
Oh, I know you don't have, no regrets, no regrets. But Boise was really, really fun. And of course, yeah, Jeremy got the win, which is great. And then Cody got second place. So I fucked up in order to prevent an all-team.
Yeah, you made me a
podium.
liar. You made me a liar because on last show I said it was going to be a podium finish for all teams.
You did, and we were actually very close to that. So yeah, it was my bad.
Yeah, Alex, we were very
Oh,
close.
I'm the bad guy here. I'm the bad guy here.
That's how I hear it.
For the record, I tried to.
There is no try. There's only do. That's the whole problem.
I try to avoid making sure that my opponents know what I want to do, even if it benefits me and they don't care, because I don't want to collude. I just don't want to collude ever. And I was trying to convince Jeremy, as the game was going on, to ignore a unit and continue with his turn because he was going to win anyway. So that I could have him forget. So I could have him forget something, and then I could get my secondary, because I didn't want to just, it's not legal. It's against the rules to say, oh, well, hey, let me get that secondary. No, it's totally against the rules. It's bad. Big no. So I just wanted him to forget about something. So I'm like, hey, man, we're running out of time. You should just skip your shooting right over there and just kill my heroes, and you're going to win this game, and you won't have to worry about it. Game's over anyways, because I had 2 characters left. And he's like, Alex, I could either roll the shooting right now, or you could pick up those models. And I'm trying to give hints and drop hints to him. And he's like, no, Alex, that's not how this is going to go. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm just like, fuck it. I don't care. They're dead. Just assume they're dead. But
I just and the entire time I picked no notes of whatever you were saying, and I'm like,
no,
I just kept looking at you, and I was just like, we have 2 hours left. What the fuck are you talking about? I was just that makes sense, because it's what are you on? I didn't get it at all.
No, you didn't get no, which is good, which is okay. That was the cosmic balance of me even speaking up about that. But
no, that's actually good, because that's an important thing to keep that above table play. It actually came out in the event that I ran. A player, and he had told me ahead of time, and so he told his opponent ahead of time as well. He was going to have to leave partway into round 6 to go catch an airplane. And so I came by his table when it was time for him to start leaving, and I'm standing there, and he and his opponent had gotten to the bottom of turn 1.
Oh my.
And mind you, this is only about 25 minutes into the round. Okay. So, about 45 minutes into the round. And so, still early on. And they start talking out the rest of the game. Oh, well, on turn 2, I would do this, and you would probably do that. And then
no.
Right. And I go, whoa, gentlemen. There is no talking out the rest of the game. I go, what you're talking out right now is one of the 2 of you has conceded, and you're talking about the score for the other player who didn't concede. And the guy who's was leaving to catch the airplane, he goes, oh, and I guess that's me who's conceding. And I looked at it, and I'm like, yes. Because he I guess had a good first turn. So he was literally talking the rest of the game out to talk it to his own win.
Oh, that's cocky as fuck. That is super cocky.
Right.
Wow. So, we're not going to be able to play, but I'm going to win this game anyway. So.
Right. I'm like, no. He's like,
sorry,
so I guess that's me. I'm like, yeah.
Turn 1, you're going to talk out the game after 1 turn. I can understand talking out turns 4 and 5, maybe turn 5, probably. By turn 5, you could probably talk out the game. But
turn 3, you can sometimes.
Yeah, but turns 2, 3, 4, you're going to talk out 80% of the game.
90% of the game.
No. I see you could talk out the last turn. Turns are easily talked out. But yeah. Wow. So anyways, what amazed me, so the guy was ready to concede, and his opponent goes, hey, how about if we roll off to see who concedes?
No.
That's not collusion at all.
Okay, I've actually done that once. I
That's
was
not colluding.
middle bracket. I went to an RTT and I was like, you know, one and one or two. Like I was middle of the road. Just if I won or I lost, I wouldn't have been in any placings. And me and my opponent rolled up and I'm like, I'm fucking tired. He's like, I'm fucking tired. We rolled a die. You win. Cool.
Yeah, but there's also things back in the day, like when we played a little bit more 40K, or when there weren't as when the scene was not as evolved. People would do things that probably weren't great. I mean, I remember one time just, years and years and years ago, just not wanting to play someone, or someone didn't want to play me at LVO, and they just literally were just like, "Hey, I don't want to play right now. You want to get a beer?" And just I lose, and I was like, "Sure, okay, like I'll take it," but also like, there's
I've never had that happen. I will say.
I'll tell you about it when we yeah, and there's a story to it, but yeah, that is that's basically it. But congratulations, Jeremy, on the final win of 2.0, at least for our region, and we're very excited to play a lot of 3.0 for Age of Sigmar, and of course, yeah. And then congrats again on Adrian for his win with Tabletop Titans. Hopefully he can play some AOS too, because our good friend Shane has been asking how to crush him. So we're going to have to figure that one out. Is there anything you guys are doing that you want to plug for the upcoming week?
I do want to ask before to Garrett, does our podium finishing make us #1 team in AOS?
I'd have to do the math, but I believe
the TO needs to submit the scores.
yeah.
Oh, I just assumed that Garrett already knew what the results would be.
No,
Okay,
I haven't done the math.
No, he's got to take care of my GT before he starts taking care of your shit.
Well, I think
Okay,
that
I want to
TOs
point out that any other team that wants to challenge the Corsairs, you're more than welcome to. We'll see you in the fucking courtyard. All right.
Woo!
Wow. Okay.
Well, Old
there's
Town
that.
Throwdown. Those Southern California guys are like top dogs right now in the ITC. So it's basically them. It would be them. I mean, what is it? For the teams right now, we're looking at Dad Hammer, War Room Gladiators, and then us, and then the Basement War Gamers, and then Victoria's Secret. And these are the top 5. And yeah, like Dad Hammer is all Southern California thing. People, War Room Gladiators is literally the game store in Southern California.
After this courtyard brawl, they're gonna call me Daddy.
The Old Town Throwdown?
No, Dad Hammer, for fuck's sake. Jesus
Yes. Anyways,
so I was just gonna plug. In 2 weeks, I'll be at the R&R GT out in Modesto. I'll probably talk a little bit more about it next week, but there's still tickets available. If anyone wants to go to a 40K GT out in Modesto, the TO just hit me up for the copy of the packet from the Hammerhead GT, and he's going to use that as the starting point. So good stuff.
Perfect.
Next week, I am running a one-day tournament. We have just under 20 players registered so far. I'm quickly building terrain for you guys that you've been able to, if you're watching the whole episode, I was building stuff for that event. So that's the type of terrain you'll be seeing there. And it'll be a lot of fun. We're doing 3-hour rounds because we're letting people learn 3.0, which takes more time we're learning.
Maybe I should just fly out there just for that one day.
Yeah, just come out, Jeremy. Just win the whole thing.
Well, maybe if Garrett sends you a packet in advance, you'd be able to take a look at that.
James is doing the packets this year.
Oh, so James is doing the packets, so there will be packets. Okay,
will be a packet. We'll probably get the packets built this weekend and send them all out. We are waiting. We officially want 3.0, like the General's Handbook, in our hands to make the pack.
Fair.
Yeah. Wow. Well, then there you go. I have nothing myself to plug either, but I guess we'll just get games in next week. But in the meantime, do like and subscribe as normal. This is going to be Alex, John, Garrett, and Jeremy signing off for the evening.
Night, folks.
Night. Courtyard brawl.